Hey everybody! Welcome to another edition of Hysterical Whiteness. I wasn't planning to film, but you've heard that before. I really enjoy in medias res, in the middle of things. It's a wonderful dramatic technique. I'm just gonna put you there and see if you can see me back here. Can you? It's lightning outside, so I'm a little bit concerned about the electricity, you know. But I think if we like just do our best, you see, if I had a camera person, they could maybe bring the shot up, but I'm just a one-man band right now. Digital self-can, DSK. And as I explained earlier on Twitter, I like to do my housekeeping in the evenings. It's just a practice that I came into during the lockdowns. Right? We weren't actually locked down though. Everybody do people know that? You actually were allowed to go out. I mean, I've been traveling for a straight year. You know, and I'm doing as some of you close viewers no doubt have picked up by now, I'm a transdisciplinary resistor. Do you see what's going on, people? I'm giving you cues for understanding the work I'm doing here. Stitches. I'm stitching together my own life history and trying to understand from it the world. Right? Why are we in this situation of seemingly mass hysteria? Right? Everybody's being so hysteric. Right about everything all of a sudden. Why is that? I mean, is it because they're responding to me? I mean, is it all an inside job? I mean, all an inside joke? Ugh. People were hysterical in mourning for Lauren Berland, or Berland. I don't know the pronunciation, I'm sorry. But I was like, this is a lot of, what I saw, it was a lot of white feeling. I saw a lot of white feeling. I have to just be honest and call it like I see it. It was a lot of white feeling. And I just was thinking about it, and I was like, but they wrote about sentimentality, but didn't write about incidents in the life of a slave girl. So how could you possibly... I mean, I haven't read the text, but I guarantee you it's not in there. So how could you possibly talk about it? Well, 4 is my lucky number. But how could you possibly talk about it? Remember, I'm a mathematician first, before I'm anything. I'm very good with numbers. 4, in fact. 4 numbers in particular. But I'm very adept with numbers. And, their applications. The way that numbers can detail certain kinds of information, right? Subterranean information. Look at that, I just connected the circuit. I'm an amplifier, people, right? I'm a speaker, right? I'm reading out what's actually happening in the world because I have the best information. And my father is convinced of that now because I told my father a bunch of things that he didn't know anything about. And he told me a bunch of things that I didn't know anything about. Are you reading me now? Capiche? My father was a numbers guy in his youth. I believe he still is. If you catch my butte. Ifo. Effects. Right? I just got upgraded again with the latest technology. It's so yellow in here, but if you were here, you'd really see it was golden. See, gold doesn't quite come up on the screen so well. You know, but it's really golden in here. You know? And I would really have to thank Erica Badu and Jill Scott for that. I'm sorry if the audio is cutting in and out tonight. The AC is on and it's just been really warm. And it's been raining, as I said. And we're gonna just try to do our best to get there as we iterate this process. And I'm starting to bring some people on board. I'm taking meetings now, in other words. Yes, I have a meeting this Saturday. Yes. Nobody needs to know that information. It's on a need to know basis. Oh, I'm sorry. I got carried away with my performance there. Welcome to another edition of Hysterical Whiteness. I'm your host/hostess with the most/mostess, Sean M.P. Kennedy. And I'm hamming up my role just a little bit. In my experimental performance practice that's now in its 5th stage, right? Quarters, people. Yeah. It's basically the end of the academic year. That's the shift. It's June. It's when we shift to Gemini season for me, and then from Gemini to Cancer. It really works for me. Gemini is a fellow air sign, and Cancer, of course, I am a Cancer rising. And, you know, my late, great, I don't know, I think, I have no idea whether Arthur's still alive or not, to be perfectly honest. He hasn't communicated with me in forever. You know, sometimes I think he's sending out, like, a signal or something. But, you know. Ugh, my hair. Ugh, gosh. Yeah, I didn't shower today. I couldn't think of anything to go out and do really that couldn't wait until tomorrow. In fact, I have like I like to batch my tasks, so I have a bunch of things around the same area tomorrow. I have a bunch of things around the same area, and I just was waiting to do it. You know. And right. So it's a housekeeping practice. I like to think of harm reduction as a housekeeping practice. I want to keep my own house clean. In the way that I understand clean, right? I want to keep my own house in the way that I like to keep my house. Can we put it like that, perhaps? Let's get off the cleanliness thing. I was joking when I said cleanliness was next to godliness. I mean, hunty, did you see? You know, and, you know, I'm doing the laundry as I like to hand wash. Oh, and I'm wearing my Zora, of course. I like to hand wash. Things that, like jeans and unmentionables. And a little low in the lights, but I believe it stopped raining. So I think that we could bring on a little bit of light if we wanted to. Oh, there you are. Yeah. No, I have it set up now. Yeah, I'm just going back to some of my old tricks. Right? Just some of my old tricks. As I do my final setup. Before everything goes into production. Everything goes into production. The editing, the writing, the revising. You know? And the meetings. It's time for me to start to take the show on the road, even more than I have so far. You know, to start to document other places, you know? Oh! It's time for me to be traveling again on a regular basis, you know. I've been doing so much traveling in my body-mind through my vision making process, you know, and things are coming to fruition. It's just a really special time to be alive, I think. And then I'm gonna do a 48-48 show in a little bit once I deal with that laundry in there. And, you know, maybe I'll start doing 3-minute clips on Instagram and like 15-minute clips too. I mean, there's lots of ways to slice this bird. Right? I mean, really, they're 24 minutes, right? Because I'm remaking 24. That's at the apex of my Russian doll. You see, I'm demonstrating that narrative can be deeply manipulated. But people like Hartman went back and grabbed narrative and had a tremendous amount of impact and still does. So yes, there are politics in academia. Yes, certain institutions are not, let's say, friends with other institutions. Certain academics are not friends because some of us work in very different ways. And listen, I am known for having a very sharp tongue. It's one of my special qualities. I've said special twice now. I call it like I see it, and there's no reason for me not to at this point. Number one. Number two, I do not lie. Number three, some of these critiques have got to be made, and I'm the only one who's gonna make it for various reasons. So you see that M right back there? Do you see how in control of my performance I am right now? I can do whatever I want because I'm being myself. I'm not trying to please anybody's self. I'm not trying to please anybody. I'm trying to just please myself, which means, am I conducting myself? You see, I'm a transistor. I'm a transistor. I'm trying to conduct myself in a way that I understand to be not just ethical, but as a process through which we can remake our world. And that's why this time last year, I started throwing down my allegiances, left and right. The main thing is a cross, because there is no left, there is no right. You need both, right? To function. In our body, minds maybe, but we don't have to replicate our body minds in the world per se. And I'm not even convinced it's the case in our body minds, right? Because the brain, the body, the soul, which is ineffable and the most complex of all of this is very complicated and interstitial, interstitial, right? I do the interstitials, what comes in between. I do the minor keys, what comes in between the whites, the major keys. Are you starting to catch my drift, academia? Are you starting to catch my drift, Hollywood? I already know the art world, and the theater world is with me. And now my parents are too. Jazz pizzazz. The show choir I never went out to because I was so afraid of being pegged as even more gay. And that's another thing, people. If you don't have lived experience growing up, as a queer person who is exposed to violence because they were queer, you have no right to claim queer status. Right? There's a lot of passing for queer at the University of Chicago. Right? A lot of passing for queer at the University of Chicago. It's bullshit. right? That looked like hagiography to me. Some of the official communications look like hagiography to me. What do you want? Counter me. Counter me. Make the counter argument. I'm a gangsta academic. Who's gonna counter me? Right? I'm the bad boy. I'm the visionary. I'm independently wealthy, so I don't have to work in academia. But I do believe my particular my particular deck of cards, I do believe they're valuable, and I would like to put them to some use. And until another partner comes along, like, I don't know, perhaps Linktree and Square, I'm just going to continue to make my communications, spreading my gospel to the world. I can do whatever I want, which is essentially freedom to me. But note that freedom is not liberation, which is a whole other thing. Which, by the way, nobody can agree on what liberation looks like. But I've made my picks. I'm going with the wisest people in the world. That is, the people who've lived and been around the longest. Yeah, think about that one, white people. The white people here in Philly have no respect for history whatsoever. They're knocking it down left and right. And the Historic Preservation Board is apparently all corrupt. It became a comedy of errors reading the Fili Inquirer every day because it was yet another mistake was made. White monopoly capital is a thing, people. And so this might cut me out, of the Square Linktree competition. I want to see who's actually interested in backing my message. The United States is breaking apart. The United States is breaking apart because, much like the ongoing Nakba, in which Israel continues to exact violence against Palestinian peoples in their own land and lands, the Civil War has kept going. It's fundamental to the United States of America. You can't... God, am I really gonna say it? Without the North and the South, there was no United States. This is the error. Slavery, correctly, as was pointed out, was not the reason this country was founded. That's a gross simplification. But because different types of people settled in different types of areas along the eastern coast, they realized, as I said on Twitter recently, a profitable marriage of convenience. Now, if you pulled it back and then realized England, fuck this Britain bullshit, England, because Britain, much like America, you see where I'm going with this? Britain, much like America, is a false name. Right? It's colonial through and through. Because the English colonized Wales, Scotland, and Ireland, at the very least, right? But we know they colonized so many more. But in their neck of the woods, they called it Britain and hoped people would look the other way. The British are experts at deflecting. I can show you everything that's in my archives, everything that I saw in South Africa, in the archives. In the video and film archives in Pretoria. The old name for Pretoria, that is, Pretoria. Do you know the current real name for Pretoria? Right? In fact, South Africa, from what I could tell, excelled at the cultural decolonization that accompanied the end of apartheid and black majority, that is, the beginning of black majority rule. But the political economic structure is still deeply colonial and racial capitalist, hence white monopoly capital. I don't know what happened to that phrase or that line of coverage in South Africa the last time I was there about 3 years ago. But that's what happened, people. That's the world. White monopoly capital. There is no white monopoly on violence anymore. There really never was. But there most definitely was a white monopoly on capital. Precisely because of the transatlantic slave traffic. The traffic and enslaved people, because of transatlantic slavery, which London funded and through which the global economy was made. The modern global economy, that is, what some people call globalization. So you see, there's quite a lot at stake in these questions about race and the teaching of race and the teaching of slavery. You know, and I don't really have anything else to add there. You know, I mean, these are my 33s. Yeah, 48, 48 is like my 45. It's a music thing, people. I'm trying to tell the world, explain the world to people who might be interested to know my perspective on things. I'm trying to explain the world primarily through music, movies, culture, fashion, style, my own personal history, because I embody all these things. I mean, we all do, actually. But I very consciously embodied all these things because that's the way I wanted to live my life, because I was so deeply influenced really by 70s movies. Because of course I was born in 78, And the 70s have such a strong psychic hold on me because of that, because I was conceived in 77. My parents were married in 76, the bicentennial, which reminds me, I do not think this country is going to be around for the tricentennial. I'm calling that now. Much like I called Rafa's win of Roland Garros in the fall, 2 weeks or so before the tournament even began, or 2 weeks or so before he actually did win. Right, like the way people were trying to sell us on Roger Federer. Sorry, I know some people are gonna hate me now, but the way that Roger Federer fans in the media kept trying to say that he was the GOAT. But Rafa had a winning record. Rafa had a winning record over him, so how could that be the case? Right? It's... in order to be better than somebody else in terms of a performance, you have to show that you're better than that person in terms of performance. But that doesn't mean that you're a better person than that other person, right? It has nothing to do with Roger Federer, what I'm talking about now, or Rafa Nadal. It has to do with deeply sedimented histories that favor Northern white Europeans above all others in the world. This is in part what Kozlowski, I believe, tries to say through the Three Colors trilogy. And I might be shifting over to media, film and media studies jobs for this next round on the job front. But I've just made that decision. It was already in the back of my head, but I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm gonna shift to film and media and communications as much as I can. I'm not gonna apply to literary studies jobs anymore. That just makes my life much easier. I have never wanted to have a job at an English department. I've never wanted to have a job in a literary studies department because of my anathema for literary studies. I have to say it. I have to call it like it is. But you know, so fuck it. Why am I applying to? They don't want me anyway. I already did 2 years. I did a year and some change at a. Yeah, it was horrible, much as I expected it to be. You know, it just took a while for the horror to seep in, and then it just passed out. You know, It took a while for the horror to seep in, but then I just excreted it out. Eventually, of course. I mean, not all at once, but, you know, it was a process like anything else.